Well, even if the president had given Congress 30 days notice, was the prisoner swap itself legal? Our senior judicial analyst, Judge Andrew Napolitano, is with us on the Fox News deck. Was the swap itself, 5 of them for Bo Bergdahl, legal?
No. There are 2 legal problems with it, one of which you just discussed with Mike Emanuel. And the statute is actually stronger than Senator Feinstein has characterized it. The statute requiring the 30 days notice prohibits the use of taxpayer dollars or federal funds to pay for the removal of anybody from Gitmo if the Congress hasn't been given 30 days notice. So the first challenge to the government's behavior is that he unlawfully spent money to physically get these guys out of Gitmo and to Qatar.
But Congress couldn't have said no. He just had the obligation to notify them.
Correct.
Okay.
And he signed into law the statute that said he's got to give the 30 days notice before he can spend the money.
Right.
When he did so, he criticized the law, but he signed it nevertheless. The other problem is far more, the other unlawful behavior is far more problematic for the president. And that is the argument that by releasing these guys into the theater of war in the Middle East, he has provided material assistance to a terrorist organization. Fact. The Taliban has been declared by the Congress and the president to be a non-state terrorist organization. Fact. Federal statute makes it a crime, punishable by 10 years in jail up to life in prison for materially aiding a terrorist organization. Fact. The courts have ruled any assistance knowingly and intentionally provided to a terrorist organization by an American makes that American liable for prosecution under this statute.
You're accusing the President of the United States of aiding and abetting the enemy?
Yes. Yes, it's pretty clear right there, right there in the statute. There's no exception for the president's behavior. That's the Nixon argument. If the president does it, it's not illegal. This statute governs everybody.
Your first point was that he returned these combatants to the theater. The president argues that he sent them to Qatar and that they'll be held in Qatar for a year.
That's the president's argument. When the president was questioned about this in Poland yesterday, he acknowledged it is probable that they either won't stay in Qatar for a year, or as soon as they leave Qatar, they will return to the theater that they once inhabited. 3 of them were intelligence officers, 2 of them were military officers.
Aiding and abetting the enemy. Is that a matter of interpretation?
Yes, of course it's a matter of interpretation.
So it's your interpretation that the President of the United States has broken the law and should be imprisoned?
Well, I don't know that he should be imprisoned. I don't know that anybody's going to prosecute him.
Right.
It requires that somebody prosecute him. He's the chief law enforcement officer of the land. But the Congress should be aware of the fact that this statute was arguably violated by the president. The bar for
the aiding and abetting statute?
It's not aiding and abetting. That's different. It's providing material assistance to a terrorist organization, an organization that the Congress and this president have characterized as terrorist. And the assistance is human assets that he has returned to this organization.
But he makes the argument he didn't return them. He makes the argument that he sent them to a neutral place, but that he believes that they may do us harm.
A person is presumed to intend the natural and probable consequences of his behavior.
Exactly.
And the natural and probable consequences of his behavior is they're going to end up back with their colleagues at the Taliban.
So what you're saying is that in that you can't provide anything material like weapons or technology
or money.
You also can't provide any humans.
That's
in the way that
I will say in fairness to the president, the case has never been scrutinized by the courts because no one has made this challenge yet.
Because under the Constitution, the commander-in-chief can do what he wants in the way he sees fit with prisoners of war.
But he can't break a statute in the process. He can't spend money that's not been authorized, and he can't aid a terrorist organization. Look, if he had sent them to Qatar and they were going to stay in jail in Qatar, this argument wouldn't hold water.
Got it.
But because he said yesterday in Poland he knows they're eventually going to leave Qatar and go back to their colleagues in the Taliban, I think the argument should be explored about whether or not he materially assisted a terrorist organization by this bizarre prisoner swap.
All right. Judge Napolitano, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
It's nice to see you as always.